All right, here we go again. Continuing on with position and warning systems. Um, we're going to continue on with the landing gear configuration. This time we're going to look a little closer at the faults that could that come up. Let's see here. All right, I guess I wasn't totally ready. The landing gear safety switch is uh, generically referred to as the squat switch, and it's also known as weight on wheels or WOW switch. So it's got a number of names, and I think I may have spoke about that on the last presentation. Um, so let's see what the text says here. Most aircraft with retractable landing gear are equipped with a means of preventing the retraction of the landing gear while the aircraft is on the ground. Okay, it's a little different than what we were worried about last time. So the aircraft is on the ground, and we don't want somebody accidentally retracting the gear. Um, so that certainly would make a mess, and it would be every mechanic's worst nightmare. So you certainly don't want to retract the landing gear and drop your aircraft down onto its belly. There's going to be damage. To prevent this from happening, a squat switch with a lever attached prevents gear control handle from being placed in the up position when there is a weight on the aircraft wheels. So that's even better. Even if you wanted to, you could not raise the landing gear. A switch connected to the aircraft's landing gear senses whether the aircraft is on the ground or in the air. If the aircraft is in the air, the switch pulls the lever away from the gear handle so it can be placed in the up position. Because you're going to keep the gear down until you actually achieve some sort of liftoff, and that is measured by all of a sudden the landing gear struts extend a bit, because all of a sudden there's no weight on it. So there's a switch that will measure the moment that happens. And one of the main purposes of that switch is to activate the lever, which doesn't allow the aircraft wheels to be raised when it's on the ground. Where is the landing gear safety switch usually located? So where would you put the switch? Say the micro switch or the plunger switch, precision switch, limit switch. Would it be A, on the main gear shock strut? Oh, so far that sounds good. B, on the landing gear drag brace. Or on the pilot's control pedestal. Well, you're certainly going to want it located on the landing gear. So it's either going to be on the main gear shock strut or on the landing gear drag brace. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what part that is. I'm not a landing gear specialist. I haven't developed that course yet, but I'm going to go with the shock strut because that's what would show whether there's weight or not. Just a regular shock absorber. That is the correct answer. What safety device is actuated by the compression and extension of a landing gear strut? A backwards way of getting to the same answer. And what do we refer to it here? Is it an up lock switch, a down lock switch, or a ground safety switch? Yeah, the up and locked or down and locked, again, that was in the last one. That's just to show you the position to actually have the safety device, the compression and extension of a strut is going to narrow you down to the ground safety switch, or which is sometimes it's referred to it, which you may have heard me talk about ground safety switch. One of the other options in the prior presentation was just ground switch. But that could also say squat switch or weight on wheel switch, so C, in this case, the ground safety switch. Here they're talking about the strut. They might go on further and say it's the landing gear oleo strut. In this system, when the flight deck gear selector is moved to the gear up position, it positions a selector valve to allow pump pressure from the hydraulic system manifold to access 8 different components. The 3 down locks are pressurized and unlocked so that the gear can be retracted. At the same time, the actuator cylinder on each gear also receives pressurized fluid to the gear up side of the piston through an unrestricted orifice check valve. This drives the gear into the wheel well. All right, so basically, this is going to have doors. The gear doors open before the wheels drop. So they're going to try to show you, in effect, how you sequence that. And you can all actually see a main gear sequence valve here. That's going to let you know that, or let these other actuators, they're going to actually automatically pump the hydraulic fluid to either raise or lower the doors, and then to raise or lower the actual gear. All right, they are saying two sequence valves, C and D. They're over here on the sides. I was looking at the main gear. So they receive some fluid pressure, and it basically is nice to actually see how a sequence valve works. These are not close-ups. Maybe we'll have one. All right. In most modern hydraulically actuated landing gear systems, the order of gear and fairing door operation is controlled by what? Sequence valves? Yeah. B, shuttle valves, or C, micro switches. So the order it's controlled by. And that is sequence valves. It's a hydraulic component. And here's our figure 19, the landing gear actuation and indicating circuit. All right, so I'm going to have to lower my camera a little bit. Bear with me so I can read it. All right, what do we have here? Basically, the note over here. The switches are shown as the gear down and you're on the ground. So you're on the ground, the aircraft is just sitting there. This is the position of all the switches. Um, and the squat switch is actually going to be the gear safety switch here. So that's like a fifth name for that switch. I don't like that name, which makes me think that it's got to be somewhere else. But that part does throw a lot of people. But as you can see, the switch is down. At least it looks like it's down. So it's going to represent the same as the aircraft in the air or on the ground. So it is down. The gear switch, that's when you're actually controlling whether it's up or down. You're not going to leave it in the up if you want it down, so you leave it in the down position. What other switches do we have here? A down limit switch and an up limit switch. So the down limit, since you're fully downed, I guess is the way to think about this. So the aircraft, the switch is going to be up because, okay, what the opposite is down. All right. Well, maybe I should start with the up. Are you up? No, I'm down. So the down would say, are you down? Yes, I'm down. So that might be a good way to think about it. Down. Are you up? No. Are you up? I'm sorry. Are you up? No. Are you down? As far as the up limit switch, yes, I am down. And the final switch here is the nose gear down switch. So you can see it is down. Okay, and because and then there are two switches over here for the the main gear, left and the right gear. They're also down. You can see it gets a little complicated. It's been a while since I've worked with it, so you might have to bear with me. All right, I'm going to switch it here. Switch is shown. The gear is down and you're on the ground. Basically what I just showed you, but I want to show you there is one complete path here. And that is if you want to press the green button or the green light bulb, you can illuminate it. And that's kind of like a test button just to make sure the light bulb is working. And you can also test to make sure that the three gear switches are down, that you are in effect down and locked. And that takes complete path to ground. All right. This is another one here. I jumped ahead of myself on the push to test. This green light is just basically once I turn on the main switch to the bus, it will actually show a green light in the position of the down. So you don't have to press the signal. It's already, as you can even see by the diagram, it is already connected. So that's just going to automatically, once you turn on the aircraft, going to illuminate green. The next one is the push to test. I see my green, does my red work? Then I actually press the little button or press the bulb itself, and you're going to press it and actually connect it here with wire 18. And then that will complete the circuit to ground. And then you let it go and it's open again. It gets its main warning abilities through wire 8 from wherever that comes from. You also notice that this is, since it's just a few lights, it's a very low amp. It's not like running a motor. It's just running some lights, so you don't really need as much amperage put through in the bottom portion of the diagram as you do in the top. All right, one of the changes is that now the airplane is in the air, the landing gear handle is up, so that's going to be this first up switch. The landing gear is actually moving, it isn't all the way fully up and locked. And the throttles are open. Where are the throttles? They're right here. They're open, the throttles. What did they look like in the prior one? Throttles are closed. All right. So you're opening the throttle and you're raising the landing gear. And right now you're completing a switch to 20 amp. Once you threw the switch to raise the landing gear, power went through to one side of a relay coil, which has to be pulled down in order to connect that to the gear motor. And you'll notice it's running the one side of the motor to, in effect, raise the landing gear. The other part, in order to actually get the relay to work, you have to go from this point all the way around to this point, and let's see where that leads you. It looks like it's going to actually find a path because it's drawn in red. So it's going to follow wire 10 and to the up limit switch. What the question is are you up? Are you up, like fully up? And the answer is still no. So the line is down, and since you're not all the way up to the limit, you continue to get the power through, which in effect is going to power the motor. So as soon as you hit that up limit switch, it's going to disconnect the motor so that you're not going to continue to run the motor during flight. I kind of skipped over the gear safety switch. You are up in the air, so you can go ahead and raise the landing gear. It's going to let you run the motor. And so you've got to complete path to ground. You energized the electromagnet, pulled the contacts down, and completed the path through wire 14, which takes it through the motor end to ground. Airplane is in the air. The landing gear handle is up. It's still up. The landing gears are up. So now you can see our up limit switch. Are you up and locked, or are you up to the limit? Yes. And the throttles are still open. So far we haven't had to worry about the throttles being closed. So it's more in a different safety system. All right, what else? Throttles are open. So what path of electricity do we see here? Through the 5 amp, because now you are up and the landing gear is up to its limits, you can actually complete, in this case it's a red light, which usually a red light is reserved to a problem. This time you don't really have a problem. So a purple light, let's say. I'm not sure why it's red. I don't have a quick answer for that. But we're going to say that red represents, up. Now it doesn't really have the up and lock because those would be down here. All right, you're up and locked and in the air. All right, this one's a little confusing to me, so it almost looks like our gear switches are open there. Is that what it looked like in the prior one? Maybe that's just a fault of the illustration. I think if it was going to be an open switch, it would be more obviously opened. All right, so the throttle is closed when the gear is not down and locked. Here's our landing gear safety situation. Current flows to sound the gear warning horn. So you actually see one of them is closed. I put that in the blue. Um, so now we get a signal saying that this one's going through the nose. Throttle switch is in the open, but this one I closed it. So you're asking the question at the down limit switch, are you are you fully down? And the answer is still no. So that's why you're getting the horn. You're getting a no answer to whether it's down. You have not activated the switch, so the horn goes off. Um, okay, for some reason, this one is only through the nose gear. Ordinarily, it's going to be through all three. So you're not going to get it just with the nose gear. You're going to get it if any of the gear. What if the nose gear is down, but neither the left or the right isn't? So, holy cow! I never thought I'd be picking this diagram apart. All right, here's another one. The airplane is in the air. The landing gear handle is down. So it looks like you're preparing to land. So you're going to lower your landing gear. But in this case, it didn't take you as long because you had a little bit of help of gravity. All three landing gears are down and the throttles are open. So you can see the three gears are down. And this one isn't a no answer. This one is it up or down, same as the gear switch. Those type of switches, it's just are you connecting up here or are you connecting down here? Mm-hmm. And so this is illuminating the green light through the 20 amp and through the 5 amp and through the 20 amp. The gear down switch, and you are down to the limit. So it is. Are you down to the limit? No, you're not down to the limit. So it's going to run the motor until you are down to the limit, and then it's going to. The micro switch is going to close. It's going to change it. It's going to affect open the switch, but it's going to change, say, the wiper from this post to that post. Probably more information than you need. Here's a question. Upon completion of the landing gear extension cycle, the green light illuminated and the red light remained lit. What is the probable cause? All right, so you completed the landing gear extension and you did get a complete circuit through the green, so you know that all of your switches are down, but how come the red continued to go on? I didn't press it. So what could be the possibility? We'll just basically backtrack the red line in the schematic, and you can see it goes from the ground, it's split off for the green, the same ground as the green. And it goes through wire 8. Is wire 8 one of the options? No. Then it goes through the up limit switch. Is the up limit switch an option? Yes, it is. Perfect. It would then go through 19 in order to find its place to. So it basically, if it's on, there must be a short here, or an open, I guess. That's not permitting this connection. Because the up limit switch is not reading correctly. So it is a short in the up limit switch. All right, figure 19. What's the indication of the red landing gear position lights under the following conditions? The aircraft is on jacks, the landing gear is in transit, and the warning horn is sounding. And you want to know what's an indication of the red landing gear position light. So this light here. All right, so what do we need here? We need this connection. We need the up limit switch to where's the landing gear? The landing gear is in transit, so it is not up yet. So you're not going to get a connection there. Is there any other way to connect here with the red? Well, you can get it through the push to test. Well, the warning horn is sounding, so let's back that one up. That's through 11. The gear safety switch is in transit, so there's no weight on the wheels. And all right, so the actual horn, it's going up through the down limit switch. Because it's answering no, the landing gear is not down, and it's coming through 16. The throttle switches are closed, and the nose gear down switch, well, it's not down, so it's in transit. So the horn is actually sounding. What about the red light? Are you up? No, I'm in transit. So I guess I'm going to say that it is extinguished. Sorry, I didn't help you that much on that one. Maybe I did. Who knows? But the red light, I can kind of see with the horn, and I could see these other switches, but basically I had to basically say the red light. Why is the red light, or what is the condition of the red light? And the only way that's going to illuminate is if the up limit, if the gear has reached its up limit. So extinguished. Refer to figure 19. Which repair should be made if the gear switch was placed in the up position and the gear does not retract? All right, so our condition here, you can always look on the corner. Gear up, and the gears and switches. The switch gear is up. The gear is in transit. You can see the motor running. And it is in the air. And so that would answer a lot of these questions here. All right, so you got the gear in the up, and let's say the gear does not retract. Got it up. Normally, it would come over into here. Well, to retract, yeah, I'm going to raise it on one side, and retract it on the other. Is this the switch? Is this the figure they give you? I believe it is, and I'm giving you. Well, let's see what it says on the bottom again. And again, the camera's a little bit in my way. Gear up. Okay. Switch is shown gear up. All right, so that was given in the question. So that's definitely the condition. And gear is in transit. It's in the air. And if the gear switch is placed in up and the gear does not retract. All right, so this, the down limit, are you down? That's the one that would control the gear as it's on its way to down. So that's more that's not to retract, that's to extend. So this is the right part of the motor. That's the side of the motor that you want to activate in order to extend, or I mean in order to pull it back up, or to retract it. All right, so how do you get power to that? So far we looked at 1, 13, 14, none of those were options. Let's go around, we're following number 10, doesn't appear to also be an option. Up limit switch, we can double check to make sure that that's, although that's not going to show you that's not an option. So let's go through the gear safety switch. The weight is off the wheel, so it went to show that in effect the aircraft is in the air. And then it's going to the ground. But it did go through wire 12 to get to ground. So the only option in the play is wire 12. Down limit doesn't even come into play. And 15. 15's over here. That's more to, that was the first part of our issue. What side retracts and what side extends. So that's on the wrong side also. So 12, C, yes. And figure 20, a little easier than the other ones. Let's see what we've got. I don't know if I'm going to go through the whole thing. All right. What will illuminate the amber indicator light? Where's the amber light? That's right there. You can see it's in parallel with the resistor. Basically, in order to illuminate that light, you're going to have to go from ground all the way up to the bus. In order to get to ground, you'd have to go through the nose gear switch, the left gear switch, and the right gear switch, which are in series with each other. So when the gear is fully retracted, they'll be that's what they're showing right now. But when the gear is actually fully extended, they'll all close. And if it closes, that's going to give a path to ground for the amber light. A. So, I mean, you can go back a little further, but actually, if you follow A, you can see it does take a direct path back to the bus. So, A, closing the nose wheel gear full retract switch. B, retarding one throttle and closing the left wheel gear locked down switch. Or C, closing the nose left and right wheel gear full retract switches is what we did down here between the amber light and ground. C. Don't I show that? I thought I showed it. All right. What's the minimum circumstances that will cause the landing gear warning horn to indicate an unsafe condition? This one I think I looked at on the last one, and you don't necessarily need the diagram in order to answer this question. So you already know that if it's going to be any gear not down and locked and one throttle retarded is going to be the correct answer. But let's at least follow it through. All right, I did follow it through here for you. So we know the answer without even looking at the figure. We can tell you the answer is going to be C. But just to show that we know how that works, you can see the red power coming through the line. And this one are the two throttle switches. And let's say the minimum they want, let's say one of these throttle switches is actually, in this case, it's retarded, which is actually closing the switch. And by closing the switch, you're completing this path to ground. It looks like it's energizing a coil that is closing a switch here. By taking that switch, you can actually get to ground if any one of these conditions occur. Either of the three landing gears not down and locked. So any gear not down and locked and one throttle retarded is going to cause this power to also go through and flash a light, and it's going to go through a resistor, but it's also going to well, where's the flasher? One of them is going, I guess there's going to be another warning visual. And apparently you're also going to get, because this was closed, you're also going to get the horn sound. All right, that was a quick, abrupt ending. All right, I appreciate you hanging around for that, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.